later, for nearly 30 years, the history of this theater was closely related with the name of famous Soviet director Ruben Sergeyevich Akamerzian. Igor Vladimirov and Alisa Friendlich started their artistic life here. Many plays of young scriptwriters like Gorin, Galich, Dvoretsky were staged here. Famous trilogy of Alexei Tolstoy about the Tsars was also staged here and became the big break at that time. And the theater was an award winner of state prize. There have been shown performances staged by Veniamin Fikshtinsky, Igor Kanyaev, and for the period of last 3 years, this theater has been working under the direction of Lev Dodin's follower, Leonid Alimov, who is right now rehearsing his new show. I have to say that the work with a number of different directors helped to create a very flexible troupe in the theater, which is ready to perform any kind of task. Another peculiarity of Komissarzhevskaya theater is that here one can always feel at home, find oneself in a family-like atmosphere. The place where everybody has known each other for a long time. Actors, administration, working shops. So here we are going to have a conversation with Anna Sofia Kitaeva, makeup artist, about nuances of this theatrical profession. Will you please explain to us how do people make their way to become professionals in the makeup department? Well, it happened I happen to come from a family related to cinematography, so for me it was evident which professional field to choose. Just it took me some time to pick the qualification. My father is a cameraman, my mother is a costume designer, but brother is a film producer. So it took me for a while to make a decision, either to enter the film production department or join the costume department or camera-related field. But my choice fell on makeup, as I really enjoy the image-changing moment, transformation, reincarnation, the moment when I bring the character to life. I used to like it from my childhood, and I always tried different types of makeup for myself. Did you happen to come across with some difficult cases when, suppose there was something that didn't work out very easy enough during these 4 years, or maybe you had to implement some new approaches? Oh, of course, yes. Each new show requires you to come out with something new. I'm not a lazy maker-up. For each performance, I try to come up with something new. For example, in Misanthrope performance, I had a difficult task finding burgundy red color matching the decoration. I had to mix colors to develop this very color shade. So I was working on the wigs in the style of Molière, which were supposed to be worn by the servants. And these are not just supernumerary who just stand on the background of the stage. An attentive spectator can always notice some change in color shades during the performance. It took me some time to dye 3 kilos of hair to get my color. It was only when I gained the tint that I needed, I began making wigs. So many nuances. My last question is, do actors, or maybe mostly actresses, ask advices on their makeup for their usual everyday purposes, because you're always nearby, because you're close to them and they understand that you know about that, of course? Well, first of all, our theater is a big family. It is not by chance that we say this, as we have very warm and friendly relations. I believe it is very important to have trustworthy relations in the theater when you can rely on cooperation with each other. You can interact. This is friendship. When you keep working together for many years, you turn into relatives. Because I work for movies as well, I very often happen to come across familiar actors on set. So they approach me for their makeup. Egor Bakulin, for example, whom I suppose have to put his makeup in the morning already. We work together on set in the morning and meet again in the theater in the evening. And I see this act in the evening. I just say, "Hi, I've done your making up already today. You're finished." Our spectators will see your makeup on the actors as Egor Bakulin plays in Oblomov. Okay, I wish you success. Thank you very much. I want to pay your attention to our viewers that this year, we also tell about the history of the building where we are, and also about some professions, theater professions, we talk about those people who are behind the curtains and without who our work is not possible. So you are very, very welcome to ask your questions, and you will see our interaction in YouTube. Every time when you ask a question, we ask you, please don't forget to give us the name of your city. Where do you come from? And remember that the most interesting question is going to be rewarded with a gift. At the end of this meeting, at the end of this session, as a jury, we will decide who asked us the most interesting question. So now the first question to Leonid. So it happens so that our festival program consists of the classical pieces. So this gives us an opportunity to talk about relations between the modern theater and the classics. Here we used to have yesterday a very active discourse of the theater critics yesterday who have different points of view. So my question is to you is that what side do you support? Because there are traditional views and there are people who stand for modern view, modern understanding of the classical thing, classical piece. So what is your attitude to this effort to interpret the classical pieces of literature? Well, the question is very easy, but at the same time, it is really very complicated. I respect highly the texts, the classical texts. I revere the texts of those literature pieces that were staged, not only classical, but the modern ones. But as for classicals, I have a special respect for them. But it seems to me that, as they say in our occupation, if we are going to make some breaks of the author's text, so we have to remember that the author will really pay us back and he will revenge us. But actually, basing on our experience, every time when we work with the text, Pasternak's word, the dialogue of Pasternak is so modern that it would be really very stupid from us to rewrite it, to redo it, to do, though actually this kind of things happen very often, but it's very strange to me. So if you believe that you need to redo something, just to create your own new play. So you're against of rewriting the classical literature. Yes, I'm against that, though in my acting experience I used to work with the rewritten classical literature, and I can't say, which I used to play, though the performances were quite favorably treated by the audience. But my position as the director today is this. So for many years already, for several years already, you are the artistic director of the Komisarjevska theater. But will you please tell us, when you came to the theater as a director, what was your program, and whether you managed to fulfill your program? What kind of performances you managed to stage out of those which you planned? Well, from the very beginning, without any politics, I have to say that I'm very thankful to the artistic administration of my theater and to Viktor Abramovich Novikov and the director of the theater, Vadim Zaitsev, who never ever, not a single time, said no to those names and titles which I offered. For example, Solzhenitsyn's Matryona's Court. I should say that for modern theater, it is quite for our young audience, and we really want our younger viewers to come to theater and become our regular audience. Still, this kind of literature is rather difficult, though the spectators got younger, and I really keep an eye on what is going on in different performances, and we see that there is a very strong tendency for having younger and younger audience. Spectators do change. I see that, and really is very nice to see. And why it happened? It happened due to the fact that we use that type of literature. So classical literature really contributed to attraction of younger audience to the theaters. So all the actors and the artistic directors are really very pleased to see the changes. So we have Oblomov, we have Dr. Zhivago, and now we have the play of Vampilov, who is closer to us, but still is the classical play. They have become those generators of new ideas. I'm again very thankful to the administration of our theater that we even, to some extent, we were ready for experiment, because Dr. Zhivago was a very difficult and it was quite a brave step from our side, and I'm very thankful that I had a chance to run this risk, and we won, because the audience doesn't leave the hall, doesn't leave the theater. The performance lasts for 3 hours, but of course many of those who come to the theater, they're newcomers to the theater. So this is a serious performance that our audience is looking for. Oh yes, I hope for this, and this we try to do everything what depends on us to have really serious performances. Like, for example, we staged the Vampilov's plays. Now, to me, it seems that this play gives a very alive and acute energy through this active and alive laugh of the actors. The audience get the energy, and we can feel this, and the feeling combines us, and at the end of the performance, really the reaction of the audience gets quieter, and I see a very serious thinking on the face of our audience. So if we speak about the performances of the program of this year, your situation is quite interesting, very curious. This is not for the first time when you meet and face Oblomov, because you used to play yourself Oblomov. That was Igor Kanya in Baltic House performance. You played the role of Oblomov, and then later in Komissarzhevskaya theater you applied to this material as a director. But what has changed in your attitude to Oblomov when you were inside of Oblomov and as a director? Oh yes, of course, I have very tremendous changes. Well, first of all, in the troupe, in the company, there are actors. This is Egor Bakulin, who is just obliged to play this. But you didn't want to play Oblomov. No, no, I didn't want. I love very much the performance that is off the stage already, and I'm very thankful to Igor Kanyaev that he invited me. But that was a different performance. That was Oblomov with double F at the end, and I played it with great pleasure. But people, my actors, at the very first rehearsal, I told them from the very first rehearsal, however many performances I played, I have always been dreaming that either from my mouth or from somebody else there would be Goncharov's text, because this is two different things. We get back to original text of the author of the novel. We get back to Ivan Goncharov with this, and this is what I wanted to do, because these are two different keys to the play. Of course, we have shortened, we made the text shorter, but this shortened version is not a new version. This is a text of Goncharov. Okay, and now let me pass to the questions to the actors. Of course, okay, Leonid had the previous experience of the actor, but what about you? You had the experience of the audience. Hardly you haven't seen the movie of Nikita Mikhalkov. And my question refers to actually to any roles when an actor starts playing, and there is some very famous previous actor who is very famous and he stands behind the role. When you play Oblomov, do you remember Oleg Tabakov? If you do, then in what relations you're with these memories? Well, first of all, we come from the same city with Tabakov. So if there is someone who might play it, then this is the person who was born on the land of Saratov. Well, this is a joke, but of course I remember very well this role played by Tabakov, and I watched him playing, and of course there was some time without any rehearsals. I was just watching Tabakov playing in Nikita Mikhalkov's movie, and I wanted this to happen in our performance, and I hope we will manage to do that, that the theme that was very brightly shown in this film, the theme of love would go like a main motive through as a thread through the whole movie and through the whole performance. We want to see this theme passing through the all the scenes of our performance. Of course, I cannot but understand that I'm going to be compared, my work is going to be compared with Oleg Tabakov, but I have to close my eyes and just go to the stage, come out to the stage and do my work and do what I have to do from the first stage till the end of the performance. I'm just growing, keep growing, and then by the end of the performance I just extinguish the character. And what about you? Because your predecessor, your previous actor was Bogotyrev. So, how to react to to the existence of some other actors that previously played it? Well, the fact is that the novel is really very thick, and not all the aspects were included in the film of Nikita Mikhalkov's film, because he was mostly interested in Oblomov, but there were things. Because my role was Stolts, I was focused on everything and all the features that described Stolts. And I think I managed to separate, to underline something which stands aside from me and stands aside of Mikhalkov's movie. So, no, the previously played role is not on my way. On the contrary, it helps me. We're all in the cultural context, we're all related, but in any way, time is different, and we're going to be different. It seems to me that this is very interesting when an actor plays the role, but he acts the same way as when you understand that the actor saw Bogotyrev playing this role of Stolts. But I want to say that many people, when we speak about young people, they didn't see this movie. The people of my age and the older people, they know this movie, but many young people, they say that after this performance they wanted to watch the movie, and many write to me after the performance that I will read the novel, because we know that many children come to the theater to see, just to watch the performance in order not to read, to avoid reading the novel. Well, yesterday we spoke about that, and my question is that, as a rule, people do not read the plays, even the classical ones. People laugh at the jokes, and I understand that in the theater, when people laugh at the jokes, this is for the first time when they hear these jokes. It means that they haven't read the plays. People cannot read plays. This is a very special skill, and a person and just people want to go to the theater and just for the first time to see the play, and instead the theater offers just something based on the play, not the play itself. These are not theater goers or theater experts, but just usual people who go to the theater twice a year maybe. And this is a requirement from people. We can very often hear people saying that we just want a normal, usual, standard type of a theater. And yesterday we had a discussion about that. So I want to remind to our viewers that every time when you send your question, please don't forget to mention the city where you are coming from. We remind that at the end of the session we are going to reward the questions, the most interesting questions, with the gifts. Today at 8 o'clock in the evening, after our session and after our discussion, you will see the performance of Komissarzhevskaya Theatre Oblomov. And also you can see it through our contact site. Before you start watching the performance, there is an opportunity how this performance was made and was directed. And that's why we are talking about the idea, the theme. How do people come to this theme? Why Oblomov? And not how this steel was made. Well, I think that the novel of Gorky, Mother, is very modern. I agree. This is a very modern thing. And it has been my dream for a long time already. But people just smile at me. For example, Who Lives Best in Russia by Nekrasov. So these are, but if speaking seriously, talking about Oblomov, you know what Egor has just said about this love, overwhelming love, and love that all different sides of love. I regret that our actresses are not present here who played this performance, because we were thinking and created this performance for the sake of women, and I love thinking about women, and we have perfect performers, perfect actresses of two main leading actors, as Olga, a young actress, Yelizaveta Falileva, and another actress is the actress which plays in nearly every performance is Yelizaveta Nilova. These are famous St. Petersburg names. But also I'm proud that we came out together with these people. Besides these characters, we also have a character of Mama, a character of mother of Iliya Ilyich, and it is Yelena Andreeva and Angelina Stolirova play mother of Oblomov, both wonderful actresses, because all the dreams that Oblomov had were related with the image of his mother and his Oblomovka village. So this state of his mind between the dream and reality is also a very interesting substance. I think we made a correct guess with this very subtle point, very subtle substance of historical costumes and decorations. And I never forget this day when, for the first time, we met our artist and designer who agreed with me that we have to make the decoration and the costumes that show this connection between reality and the dreams of Oblomov. And that's why I'm really very thankful to our artist, to our designer, because all these decorative elements helped to our actors. It gave them even special prompt to their movement. They are always in this beauty between the rain, between the sunbeams and sun rays, and between the threads that connect the future and the past, between the sky and the earth. And of course, this is love. And I'm not tired to repeat. You know, I read a lot of modern drama and modern plays, and I can tell you that after having read all this modern stuff, I opened Goncharov, and the way Goncharov describes how Oblomov is looking at Olga's shoulder, there is I can read about so much of love just in this glance that goes on Olga's shoulder. So all this love scenes between Egor and Lisa, or Oblomov and Olga. So now, supporting what you say, I want to ask you a question coming from our audience. Okay. So the level of our audience, the first question is very serious. Natalia Pashkovskaya from Archangelsk. The question to the director and to the actor Egor Bakulin. So the idea of Goncharov about the special morality of a person who goes against the progress, who is against the hypocrisy, against the jealousy. makes association with the downshifting, which is so popular today. So the question is that maybe it is really very useful sometimes to become a useless Oblomov. Oh yes, I'm ready to answer the question. It sounds like a complicated question, but actually the answer is very easy. Of course, our main dispute between Stolts and Oblomov, like, wouldn't you like to live like this, to go to abandon the city, to go to the forest, to go to the village, to the side of the river, and to enjoy the wonderful life. But Oblomov would love to live like that, but Oblomov, at one moment, he got scared to perform a deed which would allow him to secure himself and to keep himself. Later on, of course, he finds his love, he finds his world, and he works on creating his own world. But this is what relates him with the modern world. Our modern young people, they do want to live in a free way. They want just to do what they want to do. They want to be free. And at some point, they're really scared to take responsibility upon themselves. So that's why at some moment they just lose themselves. They are afraid of responsibility for love, for another person, because, of course, we know that a human being is very egoistic, but at certain time, and Stolts talks about that, so this is one of the themes of Stolts. This is the reason why Oblomov got broken. For 25 years I have been living for myself. For 30 years, for 35 years I have been living for myself. And then comes the point that when you are looking for someone, for new things in your life, but you have been living just for yourself. And this is a very modern position. And in Oblomov, we didn't know about that when we started to rehearse, but this is one of the major themes in Oblomov, this downshifting, when you have to be strong enough to take a responsibility upon yourself to be able to love, to be able to carry this burden of love, because any kind of feeling means a responsibility. We shouldn't be afraid of the high morality pathos. Well, here we speak about serious things and the literature. Well, Ivan from St. Petersburg asks Leonid Alimov, could you please tell the character of Oblomov, is this Russian soul?
Ой, вы понимаете, но ведь и Штольц, хоть он и носит немецкую
фамилию, Stolts, though he is German and his father was German, but he is still a Russian man. He is a Russian human being. Any kind of Russian literature, this is a Russian pie with multi-layers. And of course, we know on the one hand side, Oblomov makes a wrong step and then he pays for that. And on the other side, like many downshifters, modern downshifters today, people just rent 5-room apartment, luxury apartment on Tverskaya, and they rent their apartments and they leave Russia to Thailand and live there just to enjoy themselves. Of course, Oblomov, he is some sort of a alike person, because he had very good land, where he has peasants working for him. Of course, all these facts, all these features that prove this kind of character. And there is his antipode. Very often it happens that in Russian literature, the Russian character has the opposing character who has a German name. Of course, he has a German last name, but he is Andrey Ivanovich. He is is a character having a Russian name. Of course, Goncharov, the author, is also a dreamer, and he wants to connect the persistence of a German man and the naiveness and quietness of Oblomov and the sincerity of Oblomov. He wants to combine all that together. And I keep thinking about that. This is, as they always say, Russian character is depressed, is a character of a slave. For 1,000 years have been a slave. Well, this can be told only by the uneducated people. Well, I should say that this is not true, because our history of our people is very wild. People were always going into riots. There were so many wild riots coming from the peasants, from people who were always protesting. So any kind of a people's wave that gave birth to all uprising and riots and resentfulness to many events of life. So we speak about our characters as alive people. Tatiana from St. Petersburg asks Rodion, what is your attitude to Stolts? Is he a friend or a traitor? He is a friend, of course. And this is what we tried to implement in our performance, to reveal that if you read the novel, you can understand hardly the traitor would be spending so much of efforts to his friend, because by the way he is living a very well-proportioned living, Oblomov owes that to Stolts, because Stolts is the person who helps him for so many times. He provides him with the peasants. So this is not only, you can see that when Stolts speaks to Oblomov, he is rather rigid with his words, but when he acts like a relative, because they were raised together, and he is a little bit older, and they both remain to be without their parents. So he looks at him not just like an older brother, but like a father maybe, and the way he takes care of him is very similar to a father love. And if we talk about his father's feelings, we understand that he has to be very rigid and strict to him, but at the base of all this is love. All their relations are founded on love. Another question comes from Yelena in St. Petersburg. Our viewers are very smart. Yelena from St. Petersburg. Internet in modern life substitutes the real communication. Oblomov represents the communication in remote distance. So how it would be possible to change the character of Oblomov in order to raise the sympathies of the remote viewers? So Lena believes that Oblomov is like all of us who live in the distance, in the remote distance. Well, possibly, yes. So you are the hero of a young generation. I would love to be like that. Well, judging by the way the audience accepts him. Well, you know, when there is a monologue of Oblomov, I may assure you that every time I can feel the emotions and even the breath of the spectators. Everybody would love to live like that, but at what time? Who they would love to spend this time? Well, as for myself, this is my character. I always want to go to the forest. I go there, forest, a river, a boat, and then 3 days passes, and I again want to get back to the city life. There is another terminology, very popular now, that we need to have recharging. We need to recharge ourselves. I am not Oblomov in life, in my real life, but we spoke about that, we discussed that a lot during our rehearsals. We kept repeating that only having the character of Stolts, it is possible to play Oblomov. Just remember Tabakov. Tabakov, not Oblomov. Of course. But if we try to remember the further destiny of Oleg Tabakov and Yuri Bogotyrev, of course, it is very interesting to follow their stories. Stolts, this is Tabakov, and Bogotyrev is an absolute Oblomov. And I have to remind again to our audience that you will be able to watch Oblomov performance at 8 o'clock. To do that, you will have to go to the site of the festival and find our group in contact. Not too much time is left. My next question to the actors is, what is the difference of your approach to the role of the classical literature and the modern? Is there such a difference? Of course there is. This is what we spoke at the very beginning. If there is responsibility, the load of responsibility, because everybody knows how to play Hamlet, Oblomov or Stolts, and I felt it on my own skin, because every time when you appear on the premiere, for example, I can imagine people and their expectations. Okay, people think, okay, show us, what have you got? Well, as for so that's why it makes it difficult. But when playing classical literature, we face the fact that the audience knows what kind of a classical character they expect to see. But when we speak about the modern literature, the audience doesn't know who is going to appear. But to play this role. Well, but you asked if there is a load of responsibility having such famous actors who previously played. But I can tell you that when we had a rehearsal, I really settled down in the corner behind the stage, and I didn't want to see anybody because everybody knew how to play every little scene. I have been living in a very separate place in the theater, not to see anybody. I had all my costumes and I had all my lines over there. That was really very difficult because people around know how to play and they always want to say something or to comment on your play. It's very difficult to have people around who knows how to play. Just one word, one classical role which I wanted to play. Can you name such a role which you wanted to play? Just one role from the classical repertoire, from Russian classical repertoire. Well, Stolts was a gift for me. Stolts was a gift, a real gift for me. Well, Shakespeare, Molière, Gorin. Well, I have a whole set of roles which I would love, and definitely Winnie the Pooh. As you understand, the Komissarzhevskaya theater has all the opportunities to play nearly all the roles. Well, it was a joke about Winnie the Pooh, but while you are in a good mood, we have to find out the winner, whose question won the prize, whose question we believe to be the most interesting during this session. Well, I like the question from Arkhangelsk and from the remote and distance. But which question wins? Let us make it Archangelsk. Well, the theater, Komissarzhevskaya theater, is ready to invite you for the performance, and here we've got a gift. So this is a long sleeve top, which is, and from St. Petersburg, Tatiana, please, will you be our guest, and please come to our performance, to watch our performance. And we, the St. Petersburg theater seasons, will have to give a diploma to the Komissarzhevskaya theater. We'll have to give you this diploma. So one more award is going to be on the shelf of this theater. Today, right now we finish our conversation, our talk, and in a couple of minutes at 8 o'clock we start showing, broadcasting the performance of Komissarzhevskaya theater Oblomov. And tomorrow at 7 o'clock, I invite you to meet the artistic group of the Baltic House theater. So we're going to meet the actors and the artistic directors of the Baltic House. And also you will see tomorrow the performance of the Baltic House Theatre. So Neva-Art company are thankful to the Culture Committee of St. Petersburg for support, and also all the partners and the Academy of Scenic Arts of St. Petersburg, who provide the space for our sessions. And you also see all our partners showing all those who help us to carry out this festival, and we appreciate highly your support. Now I want to say goodbye, and we will see everybody tomorrow. Please watch Be the